as someone is keeping an eye on him. He also substantiations numerous demon hands there, and the blood begins to flow in the bathtub. Being spooked, he starts to roar. A manly demonologist is coming downward, lifting him, but he was scratching the walls with his nails. It was acting as someone has got control over him. He's laid down on the dining table, bringing from the upstairs, and clerk begins to read some entranced words for him. They were trying to stabilize him. At the same time, froth begins to come from David's mouth. Being mighty, he's suitable to free himself. Meanwhile, a deadly storm breaks out there. The domestic effects begin to damage and clerk also falls down. Both demonologists had caught him forcefully. Because he was in struggle to free himself, he starts to mold his body mysteriously. 8-times-old Sprat is seen at the launch of the film. He used to be alarmed. Some reality was routinely bothered him. He always used to be anxious. He was 8 times old. His parents were also disturbed due to this issue. One day, he calls some exorcists at their house. There's a couple and the clerk of a church. That youthful Sprat's name is David. He has a family. And there was also his family's friend at their house. He'd a good fellowship with David. So he goes to make David sleep. Lying him down on the bed, David's family friend leaves that place, but David feels as if someone is trying to unleash his room door. So David hides, going into a bathroom, but he feels there as someone is keeping an eye on him. He also substantiations numerous demon hands there, and the blood begins to flow in the bathtub. Being spooked, he starts to roar. All family members gather upstairs, hearing his voice. But then David was in full rage, who was 8 times old child, and he'd come out of willful. He stabs a glass on his own father's leg. Now manly demonologist is coming downward, lifting him, but he was scratching the walls with his nails. It was acting as someone has got control over him. He's laid down on the dining table, bringing from the upstairs, and clerk begins to read some entranced words for him. They were trying to stabilize him. At the same time, froth begins to come from David's mouth. Being mighty, he's suitable to free himself. Meanwhile, a deadly storm breaks out there. The domestic effects begin to damage and clerk also falls down. Both demonologists had caught him forcefully. Because he was in struggle to free himself, he starts to mold his body mysteriously. It's veritably frightful. Seeing his condition, his family's friend moves to him. He says to him, while catching him, "No matter who are you, just retain my body," leaving that innocent Sprat. It means that he'd really great affections for David. David's eyes reshape typically as he says it, and the demon of David possesses the body of David's family friend. Now his condition begins to worsen. Being held, David had also attacked poorly on the manly demonologist. Now his condition was also gone worst, and he'd been brought to the sanitarium. Croakers inform his woman that he has suffered a serious heart attack. Commodity has frighted him poorly. Everyone starts soliciting for him. He observes a hole in the house wall as he enters it. He substantiations a demon peeping into it, which is trying to target him, but he saves himself. In fact, he wasn't beyond the clutches of it, because that demon had really held him, leaving David's body. Now it was going to distort his body soon. It was going to retain it fully. He incontinently comes out from that place. Now he's cutting the tree with the chainsaw, setting himself on a tree. But chainsaw isn't operating. Also, he observes a demon on the near window with him, which was gaping at him. Also, chainsaw is turned on. His body may get hurt with it, but that chainsaw is fallen down before it, and he's secured. He's veritably alarmed, and he begins to drive off his auto from there, but he's stopped. On the other side, when manly exorcist comes into his senses, he also says the same, that demon has held the body of that boy, leaving David, who's the friend of David's family. He says to his woman, call him incontinently, and inform him that demon is veritably threatening. Guard of it. When his woman is calling David's family also, she cannot pick the call, because she's dancing, playing louder music, so her friend may feel good. Meanwhile, the condition of friend of David's family begins to worsen, because he wasn't under his control. He wasn't understanding how he's suitable to stand then. He starts to feel delicate. When womanish demonologist's call isn't attended by anyone, she's upset and calls police snappily. He says to him, visit David's house incontinently. Now David family's mate is converted into a ghost with whom she's dancing. His face is changed weirdly, and he begins to scarify him. He screams so important because of being hysterical, and she leaves from there, taking her friend. On the contrary side, police police is also arriving. Now David family's friend attacks him with his cutter while leaving, and he kills him. His dress was blood-stained. Police officer substantiations him as he comes outdoors. That boy's eyes were completely changed because he was held by the demon. He doesn't talk to man also, police officer says to him. Your dress is also blood-stained. Come with me. Now it's seen that he's seated with both manly and womanish demonologists. They say to him, we just want to check either demon has held you or not. Recite the Bible. There's no demon in you if you're suitable to recite the Bible, because it'll not let you to recite the Bible if it would be in you. When that boy begins to recite the Bible, he comes to know that there's no demon in him, because he was suitable to recite the Bible. It was also reported to police about the murder of a man that he'd committed, and he was going to be arrested by the police. At the same time, that boy's counsel appears there. Both demonologists give substantiation to the counsel. That boy didn't kill him. It's any type of demon in him which boggled that man, and they're also telling that man had also held by the demon. Also, counsel says to them, kindly stay connected with the real world. Who'll believe similar stories? They will just say they're exculpating themselves. That counsel isn't believing at any cost that there's demon behind it. Also, manly demonologist says to her, visit at house at night. I myself will show you that demon. You may allow police, because counsel had believed that demon is behind this. She tells to judge that this murder has been committed by the demon, but judge doesn't believe on her single word. He says that it's lame reason, and he'll be doomed to life imprisonment. But that couple of demonologists claims that they will surely prove that boy faultless, because they had knowledge that he cannot commit a murder. There's surely a demon behind it. Now they begin to describe this case themselves. They both start to hear the recording of that day. When it happened, they were dancing together. Also, they moved to that place where David frighted for the first time, and he encountered a ghost. Actually, there was a waterbed in that room. When David was playing and jumping on that waterbed, suddenly someone's hand appeared from there and it caught David. It was a demon. That room's bottom was also damaged. Those demonologists tell David's mama that this has been committed by a demon. Now the couple of demonologists and David's family go to the basement of that room. David's family notices, going outside, there are a number of the rats. There's also a mysterious cranium. She takes its print also, she shows to everyone coming back. All say, we no way witnessed similar cranium ahead. The clerk of church also says, I also no way saw similar cranium. Just inform it to another clerk who's further learned than me. The clerk says to demonologists when they go to him, I've formerly witnessed similar cranium nearly differently, but it wasn't as similar. He shows them his collection. In the farther scene, a lady is shown, exercising witchery, because she had a mysterious table where she had lighted the candle, and she had also the print of David family's friend. That weird lady used to bewitch. Accordingly, a man begins to hallucinate. He was alarmed. He used to feel as there's also someone differently as demon besides him. Also, manly demonologist meets a operative. That operative clears that I've formerly seen this cranium. He tells that there was also a case study before where I witnessed that cranium. Womanish demonologist declares, demons are before in this crime case now. That operative says, do not make fun with me. Also, both demonologists leave from there. Womanish demonologist also had brought that cutter along with her, which was you said in boggling on that day. Operative says to them, the crime case about which I'm talking, there were two girls who were boglied, but only one dead body was set up between them. Now 3 of them move there together where it all happened while imaging. Womanish demonologist peregrination to the history. They were both musketeers, and one of the musketeers had boggled her another friend because a demon had held her, and the womanish demonologist was carrying as the killer friend because she was repeating all in her vision. Demonologist begins to run, so she reaches the edge of precipice while running. There was water at the bottom of the precipice. She incontinently stops there, but a satanic hand starts to pull her down, appearing from the below side of precipice, but her hubby rescues her, reaching there. That womanish demonologist had restored her senses. She says to her hubby, that girl's dead body is in this swash which isn't being discovered. Now that girl's dead body is taken out of it. It means this trouble was also resolved, that his body wasn't being discovered. That womanish demonologist had great powers. Now they both moved to the sanitarium. There was also that girl's dead body there. Womanish demonologist goes near her, and she catches her hand in order to know how it happened. Contemporaneously, she notices a delve in front of her. It was darker. She begins to move outside. She notices the practicing of witchery controversy there. There was a lady who was exercising witchery on the friend of David's family. Womanish demonologist also substantiations her face. She was veritably mysterious. She asks her, "What are you doing this?" Before it, that lady replied, a dead body was moving to that womanish demonologist to attack her in the factual world. Her hubby says to it, "Leave her hand. Stop imaging it." And womanish demonologist has to carry it out. Also, manly demonologist finds a book which was given to him by his adjunct. There was written how they're exercising this witchery, and how those witches may be killed who exercise this witchery. That exorcist begins to read them. Also, he visualizes that any demon or the same dead body is going to attack him. He has a cutter in his hand, and he starts to attack them in return. Also, his hand is caught by his adjunct. He tells him that you are going to end your woman. It means those were demons who were making him to fantasize, that he may kill his woman, because his woman was a great trouble for the demons. Now that womanish demonologist goes to meet that elder clerk. That elder clerk shows her a book, and there's wedged title print of a little girl. He tells her, "She's witch." That womanish exorcist says to him that, "Why did you not tell me before?" They reply, "Because she's my son." Also, that clerk takes her into a delve, which was formerly imaged by her. There's the same witch who was exercising the necromancy, and she's the son of clerk. Suddenly, it's seen that witch comes upstairs, and it kills her father. It was a good chance for that womanish demonologist, because there was that table before her where that lady used to exercise necromancy. That womanish demonologist goes to fall down that table, but it's too heavy that she cannot drop it. Meantime, that witch begins to attack her, coming there, and she starts to deliver her. At the same time, her hubby, manly demonologist, also arrives there. Seeing his woman, he detects where she is. He begins to break the door of cellar of the house. Now that womanish demonologist is in trouble in the basement of the house now, because she's escaping from there, but she isn't chancing the exit. At the same time, she casts a regard at glass. She was suitable to look at herself in the surroundings. Also, that witch begins to attack her with a cutter, coming there. Womanish exorcist escapes from there, throwing gravestone on it. Now that witch goes to that manly exorcist, disguising his woman, and she possesses him. Conversely, it's seen that David family's friend was sick poorly because he was chained in the captivity. The first fact was that he was indicted of boggling. Secondly, a demon was enjoying him again and again. His body begins to move then, and condition starts worsening. On the other side, that witch orders manly demonologist, "Go and kill your woman with a hammer." Manly demonologists was fully held by the witch, so he's gonna target his woman, taking a hammer. Also, he recalls the old time when he meets with his woman for the first time. Also, he remembers all how passionately he loves with his woman and family. He begins to be normal, and he moves to that table, taking a hammer that belonged to witch, on which it used to exercise the necromancy. He breaks that table, which wasn't done before by anyone. Then, manly demonologist fully becomes normal then. That witch is also killed after being delicate. On the other side, David family's friend had also got well fully. Because the demon which was being controlled by that witch, it leaves his body, and all effect of black art is dissolved. In the end, it's seen that David's family is veritably perturbed, because it's blazoned in the court that her friend has been condemning for 5 times.